how to stop getting angry or bothered by anyone. We all know what it's like to be frustrated by people. Whether it's a colleague who always interrupts you, a friend who never seems to listen, or a family member who just doesn't get it. It's easy to let their words or actions affect us, isn't it? We find ourselves reacting without thinking, feeling upset, and letting our emotions take over. But here's the thing. You don't have to let anyone control your emotions. Imagine what your life would look like if you could stay calm, no matter what anyone said or did. What if, instead of letting negativity drag you down, you could stay focused, centered, and at peace? Think about how much better your days would be if you didn't let anyone push your buttons. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore some powerful ways to take control of your emotions, protect your peace, and learn how to handle any situation without getting upset. These aren't just empty tips. These are real, actionable steps that will help you build the kind of inner strength that keeps you calm, grounded, and in control, no matter who's around you or what they're doing. This is about giving you the tools to stop letting outside forces mess with your happiness and peace of mind. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share has the potential to change everything. You'll learn how to let go of frustration, how to stop reacting, and how to truly stay at peace. No matter what comes your way, it's time to take back control. Let's dive in. Number 1, the truth about people. You can't control them. If you want to live a peaceful life, if you want to stay focused, if you want to be in control of your emotions, you have to understand one thing. You cannot control people. You can't control what they say. You can't control how they act. You can't control what they think. The only thing you can control is you, your thoughts, your reactions, your mindset, your choices. Now think about this for a second. How many times have you been frustrated because someone did something you didn't like? Maybe they disrespected you. Maybe they ignored you. Maybe they said something that got under your skin, and you let it ruin your whole day. You let their behavior dictate your emotions. But here's the truth. People are going to do whatever they want, whether you like it or not. That's life. Some people will be rude. Some people will be selfish. Some people will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you speak. That's just how it is. You can wish all day long that people would behave differently, but they won't. Not because they're trying to make you angry, not because life is unfair, but because that's human nature. The mistake most people make is thinking they can change others, that if they just explain things the right way, if they just try a little harder, people will finally behave the way they want. But that's not how life works. You can't make someone respect you. You can't make someone be honest. You can't make someone care. You can try, but in the end, people do what they want. Now you might ask, but Jim, why do people act this way? Why are some people so inconsiderate? Why do they lie, cheat, gossip, or treat others poorly? Let me tell you something that will change your life. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. People are caught up in their own worlds. They're dealing with their own problems, their own struggles, their own worries. Think about the last time you were going through something difficult. Maybe you were stressed about money. Maybe you were overwhelmed with work. Maybe something personal was weighing on your mind. Now be honest, during that time, were you paying close attention to everyone around you? Or were you mostly focused on yourself? That's how most people are. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about their own problems. Some people are rude because they're stressed. Some people are distant because they're dealing with something personal. Some people say hurtful things because they don't know any better. And some people are just difficult by nature. But no matter the reason, it all comes back to the same truth. You can't control them. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're driving and someone cuts you off. What do most people do? They honk the horn. They yell. They get angry. But let me ask you, do you think that driver woke up that morning and said, you know what, I'm gonna ruin your day? Of course not. Maybe they were in a rush to get to work. Maybe they weren't paying attention. Maybe they're just a bad driver. Whatever the reason, getting mad isn't going to change anything. And that's the key. Getting upset doesn't fix the situation. It doesn't make the other person change. It doesn't make things better. The only thing it does is ruin your mood, drain your energy, and take your focus away from the things that actually matter. Now let me tell you what happens when you try to control people. You lose every single time. Have you ever tried to change someone? Maybe a friend, a coworker, a family member. You tell them they should act differently, think differently, be different. And what happens? Do they listen? Maybe for a little while. But eventually, they go right back to being who they are. Why? Because people don't change unless they want to. So here's the truth you need to accept. You will never control the way other people act, but you can always control how you respond. That's where your power is, not in trying to change others, not in getting upset when people don't act the way you want, but in choosing how you react. So what do you do when someone does something that bothers you? You decide right now that nothing will get to you. You make a commitment to yourself that no matter what people say, no matter what they do, you will not let it steal your peace. Most people react automatically. Someone says something rude, they snap back. Someone ignores them, they get upset. Someone disrespects them, they let it ruin their whole day. But you are not most people. You have the power to pause. You have the power to take a deep breath and remind yourself, I don't have to let this affect me. Try this next time someone does something that would normally bother you. Instead of reacting right away, pause for 3 seconds. Just take a deep breath. Count to 3 in your mind. This gives you a moment to stay in control. Then ask yourself, does this really matter? Is this worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer is no. You see, the more you let go, the more peaceful your life becomes. When you stop trying to control people, when you stop expecting them to act a certain way, when you stop wasting your energy on things you can't change, everything gets easier. You have more focus, more clarity, more peace. Think about the most successful people you know. Do they let every little thing upset them? No, they stay focused. They keep moving forward. They understand that life is too short to waste time on things they can't control. And that's the life you want. A life where you are in control of your emotions. A life where no one has the power to ruin your day. So let me tell you what I want you to do. Starting today, stop trying to control people. Stop expecting them to be different. Stop wasting your time and energy on things that are out of your hands. Instead, focus on what you can control. Your thoughts, your actions, your mindset, your reactions. When you do this, something incredible happens. You start to feel lighter. You stop stressing over things that don't matter. You stop letting people affect your peace. And most importantly, you take your power back. Because real power isn't about getting others to act the way you want. Real power is knowing that no one, not a stranger, not a coworker, not a family member has the ability to control your emotions, unless you let them. And you, my friend, are in control. You get to decide how you feel. You get to decide what you focus on. You get to decide what you give your energy to. So the next time someone says something rude, the next time someone does something thoughtless, the next time life throws something unexpected at you, remember this moment. Remember that you have a choice. You can let it get to you, or you can stay in control. You can waste your energy being upset, or you can move on and keep your peace. That's the difference between people who struggle and people who succeed. That's the difference between people who are constantly frustrated and people who are truly free. Number 2, decide that nothing will get to you. Deciding that nothing will get to you. Nothing will steal your peace. Nothing will shake your focus. Nothing will drag you down. And I say decision, because that's exactly what it is. It's a choice. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become immune to negativity. You choose to stop letting it affect you. You decide that from this moment forward, you are in control of your emotions. You are in control of your reactions. You are in control of your life. Now, most people never make that decision. Most people go through life reacting to everything. Someone says something rude, they get angry. Someone ignores them, they feel hurt. Someone disrespects them, they let it ruin their whole day. They live at the mercy of what other people do, constantly up and down, happy one moment, frustrated the next, as if their emotions belong to everyone else except them. But that's not how a strong, focused, successful person lives. That's not how you're going to live. Because once you decide that nothing will get to you, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop giving your power away to people who don't deserve it. And most importantly, you start to feel free. I want you to really think about this. How much of your stress, your frustration, your anger comes from things you can't control? How much of your time do you spend thinking about what someone said to you, what someone did to you, what someone should have done differently? And what does all of that thinking do? Does it change the situation? No. Does it make you feel better? No. All it does is keep you stuck. wasting precious energy on things that don't serve you. Let me ask you something. If I handed you a glass of water and told you to hold it straight out in front of you, how long do you think you could hold it? A minute? Maybe 5 minutes? Now what if I told you to hold it for an hour? A whole day? At first it would be easy, but the longer you hold it, the heavier it feels. Your arm starts to shake. Your muscles start to burn. That's what happens when you hold on to things that bother you. The longer you carry it, the heavier it gets. And eventually it wears you down. But here's the truth. You don't have to carry it. You can set it down. You can let it go. And the moment you do, you feel lighter. You feel stronger. You feel free. Now I know what some of you are thinking, but Jim, what if someone does something really wrong? What if someone truly disrespects me? Am I just supposed to let it go? Let me be clear about something. Choosing not to let things get to you doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you stay in control of how you respond. It means you don't let someone's actions turn you into someone you're not. Think about the most powerful, successful, respected people you know. Do they fly off the handle every time something doesn't go their way? Do they waste energy getting upset at every little thing? No, they handle things with confidence. They deal with issues when necessary, but they don't let anything steal their peace. They know their time, their energy, their focus is too valuable to waste on things that don't matter. And that's the kind of person you're going to be. The kind of person who stays calm, who stays focused, who stays in control. Because here's what most people don't realize. The person who can stay calm under pressure, the person who doesn't get rattled by negativity, the person who doesn't react emotionally to everything, that's the person who wins. That's the person people respect. That's the person who gets ahead. Now let's talk about how you actually do this. Because it's one thing to say, I'm not going to let things get to me. But when you're in the moment, when someone says something that pushes your buttons, when life throws something unexpected at you, it's easy to fall back into old habits. First, you have to start with awareness. Pay attention to what triggers you. What situations tend to get under your skin? Is it when someone questions you? Is it when someone ignores you? Is it when things don't go the way you planned? The more aware you are of your own triggers, the more power you have to control your response. Second, you have to pause. Before you react, before you let yourself get worked up, take a breath. Give yourself a moment to step back and choose how you want to respond. Most people don't do this. Most people react instantly, without thinking. But when you pause, when you give yourself space, you give yourself power. Third, remind yourself, this isn't worth my energy. Because most of the time, it isn't. Most of the things we get upset about don't actually matter. A rude comment from a stranger, not worth your energy. Someone cutting you off in traffic, not worth your energy. A coworker being difficult, not worth your energy. If it won't matter a year from now, don't waste more than a minute on it. And finally, shift your focus. Your mind can't be focused on two things at once. You can either focus on what's bothering you, or you can focus on what actually matters. Your goals, your growth, your happiness, your success. Every time you catch yourself dwelling on something negative, redirect your mind. Ask yourself, what can I focus on right now that actually helps me? The more you do this, the easier it gets. Now let me tell you what happens when you make this shift. You start to feel different. You start to notice that things don't bother you like they used to. You start to feel calmer, stronger, more in control. And people notice. They see the way you carry yourself. They see that you don't get rattled by every little thing, and you become someone they respect. But more importantly, you start to respect yourself. Because when you decide that nothing will get to you, you stop feeling like a victim. You stop feeling powerless. You realize that no one has the ability to control your emotions unless you let them. And you, my friend, will not let them. So from this moment forward, you make a decision. You decide that your peace is more important than someone else's bad attitude. You decide that your energy is too valuable to waste on things that don't matter. You decide that nothing, not negativity, not criticism, not setbacks, not drama, nothing will get to you. And when you make that decision, when you commit to it, everything changes. You walk with more confidence. You stay focused on what actually matters. You feel lighter, stronger, Freer, because you are no longer controlled by what's happening around you. You are no longer at the mercy of what other people say or do. You are in control. You own your mind. You own your emotions. You own your life. Number 3, the importance of a positive environment. If you want to stop getting angry, if you want to stop being bothered by every little thing, you have to take a good, hard look at your environment. The people you surround yourself with, the conversations you engage in, the things you expose your mind to every single day. Because let me tell you something. Your environment shapes your emotions. It shapes your thoughts. It shapes the way you see the world. Most people don't realize this. They go through life feeling frustrated, feeling drained, feeling like they're constantly fighting an uphill battle. And they never stop to ask, why? They never look around and ask, is my environment actually helping me? Or is it making my life harder? And let me tell you, for most people, their environment is their biggest problem. Think about it. If you're surrounded by negativity all day long, people who complain, people who criticize, people who gossip, people who always find something wrong, how do you think that's going to affect you? You might think, oh, I can ignore it. It doesn't bother me. But let me tell you, you're not immune. Nobody is. If you spend enough time around negativity, it seeps into your mind. It starts to affect the way you think, the way you feel, the way you see yourself, the way you see the world. And before you know it, you're just as frustrated, just as bitter, just as angry as the people around you. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you wake up feeling great. You're motivated, you're focused, you're ready to have a good day. But then you go to work, and the first person you talk to is someone who does nothing but complain. They tell you how unfair everything is. They tell you how hard life is. They go on and on about how terrible things are. And before you know it, that energy rubs off on you. You start feeling annoyed. You start feeling frustrated. You start thinking, yeah, you know what? Maybe things are unfair. And just like that, your mood shifts. Now, was anything actually different about your life from the time you woke up to that moment? No. The only thing that changed was what you allowed into your mind. That's why your environment matters. Because no matter how strong you think you are, no matter how much self-control you think you have, your mind is constantly absorbing what's around it. And if you're not careful, you'll end up carrying emotions that aren't even yours. Now you might be thinking, well, Jim, I can't control the people around me. I can't just avoid negative people all the time. And you're right. You can't control who you run into, but you can always control how much access you give them to your mind. Let me tell you something that will change your life. You do not have to participate in every conversation you're invited to. Just because someone starts complaining doesn't mean you have to join in. Just because someone is in a bad mood doesn't mean you have to match their energy. Just because someone wants to argue doesn't mean you have to engage. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to stay quiet. You can choose to protect your peace. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Jim, what if it's my friends? What if it's my family? What if the people I care about are the ones bringing negativity into my life? Listen to me carefully. You can love people and still keep your distance from their negativity. You don't have to cut people off completely, but you do have to set boundaries. If someone constantly complains, you don't have to listen. If someone is always negative, you don't have to let it affect you. If someone tries to drag you into drama, you don't have to participate. You can love people without letting their negativity control your emotions. And here's the best part. When you start setting those boundaries, when you start protecting your peace, people notice. Some of them will adjust. They'll start complaining less when they're around you. They'll start being more mindful of what they say. And the ones who don't adjust, well, they'll probably stop coming to you with negativity altogether, because they'll realize they don't have an audience anymore. Now, let's talk about another part of your environment that most people overlook: the things you consume. And I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about what you feed your mind. What kind of music do you listen to? What kind of news do you watch? What kind of social media do you scroll through? Because let me tell you, all of that affects you more than you think. You ever notice how after watching the news for a while, you start feeling stressed? You start feeling like the world is falling apart. That's not an accident. The news is designed to grab your attention, and nothing grabs attention like fear, like anger, like outrage. And if that's all you're consuming every day, guess what? You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel frustrated. you're going to feel like the world is against you. Same thing with social media. If all you see every day is negativity, arguments, people tearing each other down, that's going to seep into your mind. You're going to start thinking that's what the world is. But the truth is, the world is whatever you focus on. If you fill your mind with negativity, that's all you'll see. If you fill your mind with things that inspire you, things that motivate you, things that make you better, your whole life changes. So here's what I want you to do. Take control of your environment. Pay attention to what you're allowing into your mind. Be intentional about the people you surround yourself with. Be mindful of the conversations you engage in. Be selective about what you listen to, what you watch, what you read. Because the more you clean up your environment, the more peace you'll feel. The less negativity you allow in, the less bothered you'll be. And the stronger you become mentally, the more control you have over your emotions, the more unshakable you become. Because let me tell you, when you reach a place where negativity doesn't get to you anymore, when you can be around chaos and still feel calm, when you can hear criticism and not take it personally, when you can stand in the middle of a storm and still feel peace, that's when you know you've won. Number 4, controlling your thoughts and self-talk. You are in control of your thoughts. Nobody else. Not your friends, not your family, not your coworkers, not the people who criticize you, not the people who doubt you, just you. And once you truly understand that, once you take ownership of what happens inside your own mind, your entire life changes. Because here's what most people don't realize. It's not what happens outside of you that controls how you feel. It's what happens inside of you. It's how you think. It's the things you tell yourself. It's the way you interpret the world around you. And if you don't learn how to control your thoughts, if you don't learn how to manage what goes on in your own mind, then guess what? You're going to be at the mercy of everything and everyone around you. You're going to be tossed around by life, frustrated, stressed, and constantly bothered by things that don't even deserve your energy. But you don't have to live that way. You can decide right now that you are in charge. You can decide that no one gets to control how you think except you. And when you make that decision, everything changes. Now let's talk about how you actually do this. Because it's one thing to say, I'm in control of my thoughts, but it's another thing entirely to train your mind to work for you instead of against you. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. The first thing you have to understand is that your thoughts are not facts. Just because a thought pops into your head doesn't mean it's true. Just because you think something negative doesn't mean it's real. Most people never stop to question their own thoughts. They just believe whatever their mind tells them. And that's a problem. Because your mind will tell you things that aren't true. Your mind will tell you you're not good enough. Your mind will tell you people don't like you. Your mind will tell you that you'll never succeed, that you're not smart enough, that you don't have what it takes. And if you believe those thoughts, if you let them run wild, then they will shape your reality. But here's what you need to know. You can challenge your thoughts. You can question them. You can decide, no, I don't accept that. That's not true. You can train your mind to focus on truth, not just whatever random thought happens to show up. And when you do that, you take back control. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make is letting their thoughts run on autopilot. They don't pay attention to what's going on in their own mind. They just let thoughts come and go, not realizing that those thoughts are shaping their emotions, shaping their behavior, shaping their entire life. But if you want to stop getting angry, if you want to stop letting people bother you, you have to start paying attention to your thoughts. The next time you feel frustrated, the next time someone upsets you, stop for a second and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Because I guarantee you, it's not the situation itself that's making you upset. It's your thoughts about the situation. Someone says something rude to you, and you think, how dare they? They shouldn't talk to me like that. And that thought makes you angry. Someone ignores your message, and you think, they don't respect me. And that thought makes you feel hurt. Someone criticizes you, and you think, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough. And that thought makes you feel insecure. But what if you change the way you think? What if, instead of taking everything personally, you said, that's their problem, not mine? What if instead of assuming the worst, you gave people the benefit of the doubt? What if instead of getting upset, you trained your mind to stay calm, to stay focused, to stay in control? Because let me tell you, The strongest people in the world are the ones who can control their thoughts, the ones who don't let their emotions run their life, the ones who decide, I choose my reaction, I choose my mindset, I choose my peace. Now let's talk about self-talk, because this is another thing that most people never think about. And yet it controls so much of how they feel. What are you telling yourself every day? What words are running through your mind? Because if you're constantly telling yourself, I can't handle this, this is so frustrating, I hate this, then guess what? You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel like life is against you. But if you start changing your self-talk, if you start saying, I can handle anything, I'm in control, nothing can shake me, then everything shifts, because your mind believes what you tell it. If you tell yourself you're weak, you'll feel weak. If you tell yourself you're strong, you'll feel strong. If you tell yourself that nothing can bother you, then guess what? Nothing will bother you. And I know some people hear that and think, oh, that sounds too simple. That can't work. But let me ask you, have you ever repeated something to yourself so many times that you started believing it? Maybe when you were younger, someone told you you weren't good at something, and you believed it. Maybe you told yourself you weren't smart enough, and you believed it. Well, the same way negative thoughts can shape your mind, positive ones can too. You just have to repeat them enough times for your brain to accept them. Now, I want you to really listen to what I'm about to say, because this is the most important part. If you let the world control your thoughts, you will never be happy. You will never feel peace. You will always be reacting to everything around you. But if you take control of your mind, if you decide, I choose how I think, I choose how I feel, I choose my response, then nothing can shake you. Nothing can break you. Nothing can control you. This is your power. This is your freedom. This is how you stop being bothered by people, by negativity, by the little things that used to get under your skin. Because once you control your thoughts, once you decide what goes on inside your mind, you win. You win at life. You win at peace. You win at success. So starting today, you're going to train your mind like never before. You're going to pay attention to your thoughts. You're going to question them. You're going to replace the negative ones with thoughts that make you stronger. You're going to take back control of your self-talk. And you're going to start speaking to yourself the way a strong, confident, unshakable person would. Number 5, practicing gratitude and inner peace. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in life is learning how to live with gratitude and inner peace. Most people don't even realize that these two things, gratitude and peace, are choices. They think they're just things that happen when life is going well. They think, I'll feel grateful when I have more money, or I'll feel at peace when all my problems disappear. But that's not how it works. Gratitude isn't something that shows up after life gets better. Inner peace isn't something that just happens once everything falls into place. No, these are things you have to practice. You have to develop them like a muscle, like a skill, like something you work on every single day. And I'll tell you right now, if you do this, if you commit to practicing gratitude and developing a sense of inner peace, you will never look at life the same way again. You will never be as easily upset. You will never feel as frustrated by small things. Because once you have these two things, real gratitude, real peace, you become unshakable. Now let's talk about gratitude first. Most people think gratitude means just saying, I'm thankful for this once in a while. But that's not real gratitude. Real gratitude is a way of seeing the world. It's a mindset you develop, a way of thinking that allows you to feel fulfilled even when life isn't perfect. And let me tell you something, life is never going to be perfect. There will always be something that isn't exactly the way you want it. There will always be something that could be better. And if you spend your life waiting for the perfect moment to feel grateful, you're going to be waiting forever. You have to decide right now that you're going to start looking at life through a different lens. That instead of focusing on what's missing, instead of obsessing over what's wrong, you're going to start appreciating what's right. Because let me tell you, there is always something to be grateful for. Always. No matter what your situation is, no matter what challenges you're facing, there is something in your life that is good. And the moment you start focusing on that, everything shifts. Think about this for a second. Right now, as you're sitting here, your heart is beating. You're alive. You're breathing. You have a chance to make today count. That alone is something to be grateful for. But most people don't even think about that. They wake up, and instead of saying, "Wow, I have another day, another opportunity," they immediately start complaining. They focus on what's going wrong. They focus on what they don't have. And that's why they're unhappy. If you want to stop being angry, if you want to stop letting people and situations bother you, start practicing gratitude. Every morning when you wake up, before you do anything else, think of 3 things you're grateful for. And don't just list them off like a routine. Really feel them. Feel the gratitude in your body. Let it sink in. Because when you start your day that way, when you start with gratitude, your whole mindset shifts. Suddenly, the little things that used to bother you don't seem so important. Suddenly, you're not as easily upset. Now, the second part of this, inner peace. Let's talk about that. Because if you want to live a life where nothing bothers you, you have to learn how to be at peace with yourself. Most people think peace comes from outside things. Having more money, having better relationships, having less stress. But peace doesn't come from any of that. Peace comes from inside you. It comes from deciding that no matter what happens, no matter what life throws at you, you are going to remain calm, steady, and in control. And the way you do that is by letting go of what you can't control. Because let's be honest, most of the things that bother us, most of the things that stress us out, are things we can't even change. Think about how much energy people waste worrying about things that are completely out of their hands. They stress about what other people think of them. They get upset over things that already happened and can't be changed. They constantly focus on the outside world instead of mastering their inner world. But let me tell you, real power is in letting go. Real peace comes from looking at a situation and saying, "I don't control this, so I'm not going to let it steal my happiness." That's a skill. And like any skill, it takes practice. You have to train yourself to recognize when you're holding on to something you can't change. And when you catch yourself doing that, you have to let it go. You have to remind yourself, "I don't control other people. I don't control the past. I don't control what happens in the world. But I do control me. I control how I react. I control my mindset. I control my peace." Now, I know this isn't always easy. I know it's hard to let go when someone upsets you. I know it's hard to stay calm when life throws challenges your way. But let me ask you, what's the alternative? Letting yourself be stressed every day, letting other people dictate how you feel, letting little things steal your joy. That's no way to live. The best way to develop inner peace is to slow down and breathe. Every time you feel yourself getting frustrated, every time something upsets you, take a step back, pause, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you are in control, because when you do that, you're training your brain to respond instead of just reacting. You're building the habit of staying calm, and over time it becomes natural. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up every day feeling completely at peace. Imagine going through life without being easily shaken, without letting little things ruin your mood, without constantly feeling stressed or annoyed. Imagine how free you would feel. That's what happens when you train your mind to live in gratitude and inner peace. That's the life you can have if you commit to this practice. So starting today, I want you to do 2 things. First, every morning, practice gratitude. Find 3 things you're thankful for and really feel it. And second, anytime something bothers you, anytime you start to feel frustrated, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you are in control. Let go of what you can't change. Because the more you do this, the stronger you'll become, the calmer you'll feel, the more unshakable you'll be. Number 6, choosing your battles wisely. One of the biggest things that drains people's energy, one of the things that keeps them stuck, is fighting battles they don't need to fight. Getting upset over things that don't matter, wasting time and emotion on situations that don't deserve their attention. And let me tell you, that is no way to live. Most people go through life reacting to everything. Someone says something rude, they get upset. Someone disagrees with them, they feel the need to argue. Something small goes wrong, and suddenly their whole day is ruined. It's exhausting. It's draining. And worst of all, it's completely unnecessary. Because here's the truth. Not everything deserves your time, your energy, or your peace of mind. Not every argument is worth having. Not every situation requires a response. Not every little thing that bothers you deserves your attention. And yet people spend their days getting caught up in nonsense. They stress about things that don't matter. They argue about things that won't make a difference in their lives. They let little things steal their happiness, and then they wonder why they feel so drained all the time. The reason is simple. They don't know how to choose their battles. They don't know how to step back and say, "This isn't worth my energy." Let me ask you something. How many times in your life have you wasted time being upset over something that, in the long run, didn't even matter? How many times have you argued with someone only to realize later that it changed nothing? How many times have you let someone else's negativity bring you down when you could have just ignored it and moved on? Think about that. Because if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that most of the things that upset you, most of the things that stress you out, don't actually matter. Now, I'm not saying you should let people walk all over you. I'm not saying you should ignore real problems. But what I am saying is that you need to start being smarter about what you give your energy to. Because your energy is precious. Your time is valuable. And if you spend your life reacting to every little thing, you will never have the peace of mind you deserve. So how do you start choosing your battles wisely? How do you train yourself to stop wasting time on things that don't matter? It starts with a simple question. Will this matter in a year? Think about that for a second. Whenever you feel yourself getting upset, whenever you feel the urge to react, stop and ask yourself, will this matter in a year? Most of the time, the answer is no. Most of the things that upset us are temporary. A rude comment, temporary. A minor inconvenience, temporary. Someone's bad attitude, temporary. But if you let yourself react, if you let yourself get caught up in it, you're giving permanent energy to something that isn't even going to matter. And that's a waste of your time. Now, some things do matter. Some battles are worth fighting. Standing up for yourself, protecting your boundaries, standing by your values. Those things matter. But even then, you have to be smart about how you respond. You don't need to react to every little thing. You don't need to get upset every time something doesn't go your way. You don't need to fight battles that aren't worth it. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're driving and someone cuts you off. You have a choice. You can get angry, start honking, maybe even yell out the window. You can let it ruin your mood. You can carry that frustration with you for the rest of the day, or you can let it go. You can take a deep breath and say, "This isn't worth my energy." Because in the grand scheme of things, does that moment really matter? No, it doesn't. But people do this all the time. They get worked up over things they won't even remember a week from now. And the problem isn't just that it stresses them out. It's that it takes energy away from the things that actually do matter. Because here's the thing. You only have so much energy in a day. And if you spend it getting upset over nonsense, you won't have enough left for the things that truly deserve it. You won't have the energy to focus on your goals. You won't have the energy to improve yourself. You won't have the energy to build a life that makes you happy. So starting today, I want you to make a decision that from now on, you are going to be smarter about what you react to. That from now on, you are going to protect your peace. That from now on, you are going to stop giving your energy to things that don't deserve it. And it's going to be hard at first. It's going to take practice. Because you've probably spent years reacting to everything. You've probably spent years letting small things get under your skin. But if you commit to this, if you remind yourself every single day that your peace is more important than temporary frustration, it will start to become natural. You'll start to notice that things don't bother you the way they used to. You'll start to feel lighter. You'll start to feel free. Because when you stop fighting battles that don't matter, when you stop wasting time on things that aren't important, you gain something that most people will never have. Real, unshakable peace. And let me tell you, that is priceless. Number 7. The power of humor. Laugh it off. Life is full of ups and downs. People are unpredictable. Situations don't always go your way. No matter how much you plan, no matter how hard you work, there will always be moments that test you. Someone might say something rude. Someone might try to bring you down. You might face a setback, a disappointment, or an unexpected challenge. And when those moments come, you have two choices. You can let them get to you. Let them steal your peace. Let them ruin your mood. or you can laugh it off and move forward. Now let me tell you something powerful. Most people take life way too seriously. They let every little thing get under their skin. They let every inconvenience become a big deal. They let every negative person have power over their emotions. And because of that, they spend so much time feeling stressed, angry, frustrated. But what if I told you that you don't have to live like that? What if I told you that one of the greatest skills you can develop is the ability to laugh things off? Think about it. How many times in your life have you gotten upset over something that, looking back, seems silly now? How many arguments have you had that, in hindsight, were a complete waste of time? How many situations have you let ruin your day when you could have just brushed them off and moved on? Most of the things that upset us aren't really that serious. They only seem serious in the moment because we let our emotions take over. But if you can learn to step back and see things from a bigger perspective, you'll realize that a lot of the things that bother you don't actually matter in the long run. And one of the best ways to do that is with humor. Now, I'm not saying you should laugh at everything or never take anything seriously, but what I am saying is that you have to know when to let go. You have to know when to say, "This isn't worth my energy." You have to know when to laugh instead of stress. Because the truth is, life is unpredictable. People are unpredictable. And if you go through life expecting everything to go perfectly, expecting everyone to treat you the way you want, you're going to be disappointed. So what do? You learn to find the humor in things. You learn to take yourself a little less seriously. You learn to let things roll off your back. Because when you do that, life becomes lighter. You stop wasting time being upset. You stop letting little things steal your happiness. And you start enjoying life in a way that most people never will. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been in a situation where something went completely wrong, but instead of getting upset, you just laughed? Maybe you spilled coffee on yourself right before a big meeting. Maybe you got caught in the rain without an umbrella. Maybe you tripped in front of a crowd of people. In those moments, you have a choice. You can get embarrassed, frustrated, angry, or you can laugh and move on. And I'll tell you something, choosing to laugh is always the better option. Because no matter how much you stress, no matter how much you overthink, the situation already happened. You can't change it. So why waste your energy being upset? Why not just shake it off, laugh a little, and keep going? The same applies to dealing with difficult people. There will always be people who try to get under your skin. There will always be people who criticize you, who doubt you, who say things just to see how you'll react. And if you let them get to you, you're giving them exactly what they want. But if you learn to laugh it off, if you learn to not take their negativity seriously, suddenly they lose all their power over you. I remember a time in my own life when someone tried to bring me down with their words. They thought they were being clever. They thought they were getting under my skin. But instead of getting angry, instead of letting it bother me, I just laughed. And do you know what happened? They didn't know what to do. They expected me to react. They expected me to get upset. But instead, I showed them that their words had zero power over me. And that's a lesson for life. When you stop giving people the reaction they're looking for, they stop having control over you. Now this takes practice. If you've spent years reacting to everything, if you spent years getting upset over small things, this won't change overnight. But the next time something small goes wrong, try this. Pause for a second. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this really worth getting upset over? Most of the time, the answer is no. Most of the time, the best response is to smile, to laugh, and to keep moving forward. When you start seeing life this way, everything changes. Suddenly people don't bother you as much. Small problems don't ruin your day. You feel lighter. You feel freer because you're no longer carrying unnecessary stress. You're no longer wasting your energy on things that don't matter. You're no longer letting every little thing control how you feel. And let me tell you, that is real freedom. When you can walk through life without letting every inconvenience, every rude person, every unexpected challenge shake you, you become unshakable. You become stronger than ever. And most importantly, you enjoy life more because you're no longer holding on to stress, frustration, or negativity. You're simply living. Number 8, developing patience and understanding. There's a difference between just getting through the day and pushing yourself every single day to become the best version of yourself. A lot of people think that as long as they're doing enough to get by, that's good enough. They think if they make it through their workday without too much trouble, if they check a few boxes on their to-do list, if they do just enough to keep things moving, that should be enough. But here's the truth. It's not. That's the mentality of someone who's only interested in surviving, not thriving. If you want to truly win, if you want to reach your full potential, you have to push yourself every single day. It's not enough to do the minimum. It's not enough to just get by. You have to go beyond what you think you're capable of. You have to stretch yourself. You have to challenge yourself. But pushing yourself isn't always easy, is it? In fact, most of the time, it's uncomfortable. There are days when you just don't feel like it. There are days when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're tempted to just take it easy and skip the hard work. Those are the days when you have to dig deep. Those are the days when you have to remind yourself that the effort you put in today will shape the person you become tomorrow. It's easy to want to quit when you're facing challenges. It's easy to want to give up when the road gets tough. But winners don't quit. Winners push through. Winners keep going, even when it feels like they can't. And it's in those moments, when you feel like you have nothing left to give, that you'll discover just how much more you're truly capable of. Here's something I've learned over the years. Success isn't about talent or luck. It's about consistency. It's about showing up, day after day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about putting in the effort, even when the results aren't immediately visible. It's about doing the work, even when no one is watching. That's how winners separate themselves from everyone else. So how do you push yourself every day? How do you stay motivated when you're feeling tired, discouraged, or distracted? First, you have to set clear goals. You have to know exactly what you're working toward. If you don't have a vision for your future, you won't have the drive to keep going when things get tough. You need to know why you're putting in the effort, why you're pushing through the discomfort, and why you're making sacrifices. Your goals should be big enough to inspire you, but also specific enough to keep you focused. If you're just going through the motions, it's easy to lose motivation. But when you have a clear sense of purpose, when you know what you're working toward, it becomes a lot easier to push yourself. Next, you have to make the commitment to take action. Even on the hard days, no one ever became successful by waiting for the perfect moment, by waiting for the right circumstances, or by waiting for motivation to magically appear. You have to commit to action. Regardless of how you feel, you have to be willing to do what others won't do, even when you're tired, even when you're busy, even when it seems like you're not getting the results you want. The truth is, the hardest days are often the most important ones. The days when you don't feel like showing up are the days that will define you. They're the days that will separate you from the people who are just going through the motions. Because when you show up on those hard days, when you push through, you're building strength, you're building discipline, you're building resilience, and that's what will carry you through to success. It's also crucial that you surround yourself with the right people. You need people who are going to encourage you to keep going when you feel like giving up. You need people who will challenge you to push harder, to aim higher, to do more than you thought was possible. The right people will hold you accountable and remind you of your goals when you start to lose sight of them. They'll keep you on track, even when the temptation to quit is strong. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, pushing yourself every day is not easy. It's going to take effort. It's going to take discipline. But here's the thing, the discomfort is worth it. Because every time you push yourself past your limits, you're growing. Every time you take action when you don't feel like it, you're strengthening your character. Every time you face a challenge and don't back down, you're one step closer to becoming the person you were meant to be. Think about this, winners aren't born, they're made. They're made through daily effort, through consistent action, through doing the work even when it's hard. And that's something you can control. You can choose to be consistent. You can choose to push yourself. You can choose to show up, even on the tough days. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. If you want to achieve anything great in life, whether it's building a successful career, improving your health, creating lasting relationships, or achieving financial freedom, you need to be willing to push yourself every day. You need to be willing to make sacrifices, to put in the effort, and to keep going when it feels like you're not getting anywhere. Because success doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of consistent effort over time. But here's the beautiful thing, you don't have to do it alone. The people who are successful, the people who are winning, have been where you are. They've faced the same doubts, the same struggles, the same challenges, and what sets them apart is that they didn't give up. They kept pushing, even when it was hard. And if they can do it, so can you. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to commit to pushing yourself every single day. I want you to set your goals, take consistent action, and keep going, no matter what. And I want you to remember that it's the days when you don't feel like it, the days when you want to quit, that are the most important, because those are the days that will define your success. When you look back on your life, you won't regret the days when you pushed yourself. You won't regret the hard work. You won't regret the effort you put in, even when it seemed like no one was noticing. What you will regret are the days you didn't push, the days you gave up, the days you let yourself get comfortable. Number 9, understanding negative people. There are going to be days when you don't feel like doing anything, days when you just want to stay in bed, pull the covers over your head, and pretend the world doesn't exist. I get it. We all go through those moments when our energy is low, when we're drained, or when the weight of life feels too heavy to carry. But here's the hard truth. That's the exact moment you need to push the hardest. The moments when you don't feel like working, when you want to quit, that's when you need to force yourself the most. I know it sounds tough, but think about it. If you only worked when you felt like it, how far do you think you'd get? If you only did what was easy, what was comfortable, if you only acted when your motivation was at an all-time high, you'd never make any real progress. Success in anything is built on doing the things that others aren't willing to do. It's built on pushing yourself through those moments when everything inside of you is telling you to stop. When you're exhausted, when you're frustrated, when you feel like you've given all you have to give, that's when the true test of your character comes. It's easy to work when the energy's high, when everything feels easy, when the goals are clear and the path is smooth. But let me tell you, life isn't always going to give you the conditions you want. You're not always going to wake up feeling motivated, and that's perfectly normal. But you can still make the choice to work. You can still choose to show up. Here's the thing you have to understand. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline lasts. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes, sometimes without warning. But discipline is a choice. It's about doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. And the more you make that choice, the easier it becomes to keep making it. Discipline is the key to turning those moments of struggle into moments of growth. But it's not always about just forcing yourself to work through sheer willpower. It's about understanding why you're doing it in the first place. What is it that you want to achieve? What is the purpose behind the work you're doing? When you connect with that deeper sense of purpose, it becomes a lot easier to push yourself, even when the motivation isn't there. Think about it. When you know why you're putting in the effort, whether it's for your family, your future, your dreams, it makes it a whole lot easier to force yourself to take action. You've got to remind yourself that the work you do today, no matter how small, is moving you one step closer to the person you want to become. This is especially true when you're facing a task that you know is difficult, or a project that feels too overwhelming. There's no magic trick that makes things easy, but there is a simple truth. If you force yourself to start, you've already won half the battle. So many people never even begin. They sit on the sidelines, waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right mood, waiting for the stars to align. But success doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It doesn't wait for you to feel 100%. Success is about getting started, even when you don't feel ready. When you make the decision to work, when you don't feel like it, you're building resilience. You're strengthening your mindset. You're telling yourself, I'm in control here. And the more you practice this, the easier it gets. The more you push through those days when you feel like giving up. The more you train yourself to act in the face of discomfort. And let me tell you, the person who can show up even when it's tough is the one who wins in the long run. It's also important to remember that progress isn't always obvious. You might put in the work, day after day, and feel like nothing is changing. But let me tell you, change happens in the background. Every time you show up, every time you push yourself, you're building a foundation for something bigger. You might not see the results immediately, but that doesn't mean the work is in vain. Think about building a house. You lay brick by brick, day after day, and at first all you see is a pile of bricks. It can feel slow, it can feel frustrating. But one day, when you step back and look at the house you've built, you'll realize that all those small, consistent actions added up to something incredible. That's the power of showing up every day, even when it's hard. Sometimes the most difficult part is simply getting started. We get overwhelmed by the thought of how much we need to do, and that can make us want to shut down and avoid it altogether. But here's the thing, you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to complete the whole project in one go. Start small, start with one task, one step, one decision to act. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, that momentum will carry you forward. Once you start, the rest will follow. And this is where your mindset really comes into play. If you constantly tell yourself, I don't feel like it, you're setting yourself up to fail. But if you shift that mindset to I can do this, I'm going to push through, I'm going to take one step at a time, then you're going to notice a shift in how you approach your work. Your mindset has the power to either lift you up or hold you back. There's also the question of self-compassion. Pushing yourself every day doesn't mean being hard on yourself or expecting perfection. It doesn't mean being a robot who's always on. There are going to be times when you're tired, when you're worn out, and when you need to rest. And that's okay. But even in those moments, it's important to be kind to yourself. And remember that just because you're taking a break doesn't mean you've failed. You don't have to force yourself into overdrive all the time, but you do need to keep showing up consistently. Rest is important, but rest doesn't mean quitting. And when you feel like you're struggling with motivation, it's helpful to remember your purpose again. What's driving you? What's the bigger picture you're working toward? When you're focused on the why, it's easier to push through the how. The how can be messy. It can be tiring, but the why is what will keep you going. We all go through times when we feel stuck, when we want to quit, when we feel like it's just too much. But the key to success is this: don't stop. Don't let those moments of doubt define you. Instead, use them as fuel to keep going. Use them as proof that you're moving in the right direction, even when it doesn't feel like it. Number 10, the power of perspective, seeing the bigger picture. When it comes to understanding and dealing with negative people, I know it can feel like a battle sometimes. We've all been there. Maybe it's a colleague who always seems to have something negative to say, or a family member who just can't seem to get on board with your goals. It's tough, no doubt about it. You start to feel drained by their energy, like their negativity is infecting your own thoughts. You might even begin to question yourself and your decisions, just because they've made you feel small or insignificant. But here's the thing, understanding negative people and how to deal with them is one of the most empowering things you can do for your own peace of mind. Let's face it, you can't control other people. You can't make someone else change their mindset. You can't make them see the world the way you do, and that's okay. But what you can control is how you react to them, how you allow their negativity to affect you, and how you handle those situations when you feel like they're trying to bring you down. It starts with realizing that negative people don't define you. What they say or do doesn't have to change your mood or your outlook. Their negativity is a reflection of them, not of you. And when you understand that, it becomes a lot easier to deal with. It's like realizing that the person who's yelling at you from the car window isn't actually shouting at you. They're shouting at the world. It's not about you, it's about where they are in their own life. Now, that doesn't mean their negativity doesn't affect you at all. We're human, after all. And when someone is constantly bringing bad energy into your space, it can be hard not to feel frustrated, angry, or hurt. But I want you to think about it this way. You have the power to protect your peace. You don't have to allow their mood, their words, or their attitude to take you off course. You have the ability to create a boundary, mentally, emotionally, and even physically, that allows you to stay centered and focused on what truly matters. One of the most powerful things you can do in these situations is to choose not to engage. So often, we feel the need to defend ourselves or argue with someone who's being negative. We want to prove our point or change their mind. But the truth is, most of the time, it's not worth it. Arguing with someone who's in a negative mindset rarely leads to a positive outcome. In fact, it often just escalates the situation. When you find yourself in that place, take a step back and ask yourself, what do I really want here? Do you want to be right, or do you want peace? Choosing not to engage doesn't mean you're letting them win. It means you're choosing to protect your own peace. And that's always the better choice. Let their negativity roll off you like water off a duck's back. Don't absorb it. Don't internalize it. Instead, focus on your own thoughts, your own goals, and your own energy. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Another important thing to realize is that negative people often have their own struggles. They might be going through things that you don't even know about. Stress, fear, insecurity, unresolved pain. When someone is constantly negative, it's usually a reflection of what they're experiencing inside. They're projecting their inner turmoil onto the outside world. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help you approach the situation with more compassion and understanding. When you recognize that their negativity comes from their own wounds, it becomes easier to not take it personally. Now, this doesn't mean you should let people treat you poorly. There's a big difference between understanding where someone is coming from and allowing them to walk all over you. You have to set healthy boundaries. It's okay to say no, to protect your space, and to remove yourself from toxic situations. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone else is to walk away. It's okay to walk away from negativity, especially when it's taking too much of a toll on your mental and emotional health. When you're around negative people, you also have to remember that you are the company you keep. If you're constantly surrounding yourself with negative, complaining, or toxic people, it's going to be harder for you to stay positive and focused on your goals. That's why it's so important to cultivate an environment that lifts you up, not drags you down. If you're constantly exposed to negativity, it's going to seep into your own thinking. It's going to affect your energy. And before you know it, you'll find yourself thinking like them, grumbling, complaining, and looking for the negative in everything. That's why you need to surround yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you, who lift you up, people who believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. People who bring positivity into your life and help you stay focused on your goals. If you want to stay positive and motivated, you have to be intentional about the people you spend time with. You have the power to choose your circle. Don't waste it on people who bring you down. But I know sometimes it's not so simple. Sometimes negative people are family members, close friends, or colleagues. They're people you can't just walk away from. And in those situations, it's important to learn how to manage your own response without getting caught up in their negativity. That means practicing self-awareness. It means knowing when to step back, when to take a deep breath, and when to remind yourself that their negativity is not your burden to carry. And then, of course, there's the power of perspective. When you're faced with negativity, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that everything is falling apart, that things will never improve. But that's not true. Negativity is temporary. The world is full of positive things, beautiful moments, and opportunities for growth. You don't have to let someone else's negativity cloud your view of the bigger picture. When you find yourself around negative people, try to shift your perspective. Think about the things you're grateful for, the things that are going well in your life. When you focus on the positive, it's a lot harder for the negativity around you to affect you. You can't control other people, but you can control how you see the world. And when you choose to see the world through a lens of gratitude, hope, and possibility, it becomes harder for negativity to take root. The bottom line is this: you don't have to let negative people ruin your peace. You don't have to let their words, their attitudes, or their actions determine how you feel. You have the power to protect your peace, set boundaries, and focus on what truly matters. You can choose not to engage with negativity, and you can choose to surround yourself with people who lift you up. When you do this, not only will you be able to maintain your peace, but you'll also begin to change the energy around you. Your positivity will become contagious, and little by little, you'll notice that the negative people in your life will either start to change or they'll simply fade away.